video and on YouTube, and you know your own experience with YouTube, you watch a video, then it gives you a list of all these other relevant videos you should look at, right? And then NAR research tells us that 80% of any client, buyer or seller, would prefer to work with a realtor that uses video, right? Not just for marketing properties, but to market themselves, because that's where it's at these days. So this probably, you're probably familiar with this. You don't need to spend money on videos anymore, right? Using your cell phone or using the little camera that's built into the top of your laptop monitor, right? That's all you need to do. A 1-minute video telling us why you are the agent we can't do without, and then you post it on your free YouTube channel, right? And then you include that in your profiles. A lot of agents, what they'll do is they'll put the link to that video as part of their email signature, right? So that everybody can see it. You get the idea there?
Yes.
Okay. This is just an example. I'm sorry I don't have sound. This is one of our ambassador agents at Realtor.com, and look where she is.
It's beautiful.
Here's, I don't have time to really go into content, but what does that tell you about where Rhea works?
She sells lake property.
It's waterfront, it's lakefront. That's all that, so it's 50% of her message is simply in the visual, right? Simply in the visual, right? So when you create these videos, think about that, okay? Again, I can do a whole hour just on content of personal marketing, but we don't have time for that today. Okay, so let's meet your profile. A lot of this I'm going to race through, but I want to get to some particularly important points, right? Is somebody keeping time for me too? No, so we're gonna wing it here.
It's 11:08.
Okay, here are some of the areas of profiles that you really want to pay attention to, okay? Ratings from past clients, right? Ratings and recommendations. Now, and I do say, use your tips and tricks on any other portal. I've said that a couple of times, right? However, there is one rating system on Realtor.com, which I like to brag about a little bit because it's unique to us. And it's called the ratings and reviews, right? So you can go back 10 years into your transaction history and get your past clients, and they have to be past clients, right? To rate you 1 to 5 stars on a variety of different subjects, and then plus give you a written testimonial. And it's the only agent rating tool that is rated, if you will, by NAR as one that empowers the agent, right? So it does need to be a past client, et cetera, et cetera. So I would encourage you to please use that. Please use that. Now, there's also testimonials, right? Which is basically recommendations. That's wide open. Every real estate portal has that. And remember, I just asked a moment ago, are you diligent about getting those recommendations from anyone? Doesn't even have to be a past client, past work experience, colleagues, all of the title companies and the home inspectors and everybody that's after you to use them on your next transaction. Get them to give you a recommendation. Now, I said a moment ago, there's a real obvious reason for that, right? So that past clients can see what other people have said about you. But who's got an idea of what another equally as important issue is for posting as many recommendations and testimonials as possible? Anybody have an idea what's so important about that?
It brings you to the top
Of what?
of the search.
Of search results,
Yeah.
right? Excellent. The more information you put into your profile, the more that search engines have to index. And search engines are out there indexing every single website that exists. And of course, there's hundreds of millions of them, right? Several times every day. And the more information you have in there that's attached to your name, right? The more they have to index, the higher your chances of getting, of reaching a higher spot in search engine results. Okay? We have a little joke among ourselves in our training department that, and the joke is pretty stupid, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, right? Where's a good place to hide a dead body?
In plain sight.
In plain sight is a very good answer. With regard to search engines, a dead body can be hidden on page 3 of a search result.
Yep.
Because nobody ever looks that far.
Yep.
Right? Nobody ever looks that far. All right. I talked about all this, right? Ratings and reviews, recommendations, personal recommendations from anyone, and from anywhere. Now, why is that so important? All of the agent profile views, not all, but 70% of agent profile views come from internet searches, right? The other 30% of our own agent profile views come from our own Find a Realtor search that's on our website, okay? If you go to Realtor.com, right on the top menu ribbon is Find a Realtor. So then you can search by zip code, by city, by state, etc. So a huge number come from that, but the majority of them come from internet searches. That's why it is so important, right, to put in as much information as possible. Because again, we want you to show up as high as possible, right? So I'm gonna just go through this dashboard tour. It's gonna be, we can skip past that because by the way, if you want to, I don't want to spend time right this minute. If you haven't claimed your Realtor.com profile, or you want to know more about it, I'll be here the rest of the day at the Realtor.com table, so please do come see me. And if you haven't claimed it, there's a little bit of a process to go through. It's very easy, and I'll talk you through it, okay? Well, once you're in your dashboard, you will know you're in the right place because it'll say Realtor.com for professionals on the top left. If it doesn't say that, you're in a consumer portal, so you're in the wrong place. But I do want to go through just some very important sections. Now, again, this is going to be probably too dim and too fuzzy for those of you anywhere behind the first table here, right? So I'm just going to talk about some particular sections. Now, your headshot, like I said, make sure it's taken in the last 100 years, right? Now, that big picture on top, I think everybody can see that, right? That big picture on top is so much more important than usually agents realize. It's the first thing that a consumer is going to see when they land on your profile. And what it needs to do is start building, subconsciously that bit of virtual connection, right? So the photo needs to have something to do with the specialty or the niche of real estate that you work in, right? I look at these profiles by the hundreds, part of my job. There we go. If it doesn't work, I can talk loud enough anyway, right? And what I see a lot of agents do is just to throw up a copy of their business card or their brokerage. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it doesn't make any kind of subliminal connection to the agent, right? So that is an example for example of the kind of real estate, the kind of home this particular agent works in. If you work, and there's going to be areas here. I was in Huntington Beach last week, which is so beautiful, right? Well, that's oceanfront homes, right? So agents that work there need to have the ocean in the background, right? Or is their background photo? Get the idea there? And then moving on to some really important things here. That's just how to upload the photo. We don't need to do that. Okay, let's get to a couple of important things here. All right, which one is this? I can't even see it from here. Right. If I were to ask you what kind of real estate do you deal in, what would you tell me? Anybody else?
First-time home buyers.
I love it. I'm sorry, I'm picking on you, right?
Veterans.
Veterans, first-time home buyers, you said. Now we're getting the idea, right? Foreclosures, there you go, right? So many agents, obviously you work in residential real estate. Duh, how does that set you apart from everybody else, right? You need to be very laser specific because our own research tells us when the consumer searches for real estate, they're not just going to say Huntington Beach if they want an ocean view property. They're going to say that, right? Or if they want a horse property out in the, in the outlying areas, or if they want specifically a condominium, or if they want a townhome, or if they want vacant land, et cetera, all of that is very specific. In that field, I'm not sure about other portals, but you've got 1,150 characters. Use them all. Right? Of course, you say residential real estate, but you can't leave it at that. Get the idea there? Got to be laser specific. That way, to revert to what I said in my introduction, that way, right, you will appear in a property search. Again, even before somebody's even thinking about an agent, right? As long as you have all that specific information in there. See, here are some examples. Luxury homes, relocation, investment, ocean view, golf course, right? That's as specific as you need to get. Now the next spot is areas. So let's say you work in Los Angeles, but how many suburbs in Los Angeles are there? Tons and tons of them, right? Again, 1,150 characters. Work in smaller city names, suburb names. You can work in subdivision names, neighborhood names, particular community names, right? I come from the Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm going to put in Scottsdale and Surprise and Mesa and Chandler and Tempe, all those other cities that are suburbs of the main town of Phoenix. Yes?
Do you utilize this for the algorithm when people are searching by cities?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely, yes. So I think your question was, so in case anybody didn't hear it, the question was, do we use this in our own internal algorithm when people are on our site looking for an agent, right?
Yes.
On your site and also off the site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes to both.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Yeah, that's the reason to put it in there, right? And again, for internet searches, right? That information is in your profile, it's now online. And again, particularly Google, I know because Google is a strategic partner of ours, so they're constantly indexing our site. So anything new that you put in will be kind of available out there within 4 or 5 hours, right? Google indexes our site several times every day. Okay? All right, good. The next thing is zip codes. People very often search by zip code, right? You can enter in our portal 51 zip codes. Is 51 enough to cover your geographical area? Probably, right? So, in the last two things, I said put in as much information as possible. Here, I'll caution you just a little bit and say, don't put in zip codes that are too far away for your service. Right? But you do have 51 that you can put in. Alrighty, I gotta move through this pretty quickly. Who uses a slogan in their advertising? Anybody use a slogan? Good. Slogans are cheesy, usually, but the consumer loves to see
Yeah,
them.
they do.
The consumer. I'm a musician, the second half of my life, and when I was practicing real estate, my slogan was turning real estate into an art form. Well,
nice.
what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? What happens if somebody asks you that question? What does that mean?
You got a response from them.
You get a response, but then what's happened? Yes, what's happened? A conversation has begun. Connection has begun. A relationship has begun. Right? So all of those little tiny tools, use them to your benefit. Now your biography you put in here, we'll talk about biographies as we close today. I got 10 minutes, okay. Our own tip there is don't write your biography directly into that field because we don't give you a spell checker, right? So just create it somewhere else, Word or whatever, and copy and paste, okay?
You're running it, yeah.
All right, let us move on here. Yeah, all of these are fine details. I want to do the general things here. If you belong to more than one MLS, anybody here belong to more than one MLS? If you do, and you're in and you're setting up your profile, you can't add that MLS automatically. You have to call that support number. 90+% of the time, adding an additional MLS is not a problem. Once in a while it is, and it depends on the the type of data feed that's fed to us, right? So if you discover by calling those guys that it's not possible, you just have to create a separate profile for each of your MLSs. But most of the time, there is no issue there. Make sure NAR and your MLS IDs information are accurate, and that again is also true for a number of other real estate portals, because we pull data from both of those sources, right? From your NAR profile as well as your MLS. So those need to be accurate for your profile to work optimally. Let's get to the main part here. We talked about recommendations and testimonials. This is just all the mechanics of how to add them. You can figure that out for yourself. I want to get to the biography section before I wrap it up today. So forgive me while I just race through all of this here. All right, biographies that resonate. So, what is the consumer looking for? What does the consumer want?
Product.
Sorry?
Products.
They want product. Excellent. There are no wrong answers here, but there's a direction that I'm going in. That's anybody?
What's in it for me?
Beautiful. What is in it for me? Anybody else? Anybody else?
They want to know what
Service, information, all of these answers are correct.
their character.
Your character, now we're getting warm. Not that anything else was wrong, right? We're getting warm as far as the direction I'm moving in here, right? This is now subconscious. All of the things you just mentioned to me are conscious. I want information, I want character, right? But subconsciously, what are people looking for? Let me give you an example.
Successful sales.
All right, successful sales, that's a good point, right? Do you know some agents have a dozen of those three-letter acronyms at the end of their name? GRI, ABR, CRS, all of that stuff,
The hell is
right?
that?
That's all wonderful. Great education, gives you more expertise. Does the client care? No.
No.
Does the client even know what they mean?
No.
What are they looking for?
Trust.
Oh, now we're getting hot. They're looking for a real human being, right? They're looking for a real human being, someone they feel certainly has to have the expertise, right? But someone they feel they can trust and connect with, right? So when people write their biographies, what's coming next here? When people write their biographies, what I see so often, oh, I've won the President's Award for Production 5 years in a row, and I'm this and this and this certification, and all of that is wonderful, but you don't want to lead with that, right? You don't want to lead with that. Let me ask you another question. When we're talking about making the connection, whether it's a business relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, how do these relationships start? When people begin to start to know one another, it is through communication.
I just said a hello, like what you're.
A hello, but then how, what usually happens, it starts to make one person like the other.
Conversation.
How you give back to people.
How you give back to people, there's one, you saw that on the screen. So I'm not
No,
gonna give
no,
you
I do. I do
Okay.
that. I do that.
All right, excellent, good. How you give back to people, wonderful.
If you're local,
If you're local, how do two people become friends?
they meet.
Building rapport.
Okay, all of these are correct answers. Where I'm going, and I don't have time to let you continue, I'm gonna just tell you.
Tell us.
Right? Common interests.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right?
yes.
Okay, we get it now. We get it now.
Well, rapport is
Common interest,
part of
and that
common
then
interest.
establishes rapport
Yes.
and all of that good stuff, right? All of these adjectives, everything you've told me, very much cross over, right? But common interests. So I will ask you. I don't have time to go over and poll the crowd here, right? But I will ask you, what do you love to do outside of real estate? What do you love to do? Is it mountain biking? Is it mountain climbing? Is it hiking? Is it camping? Is it horses? Is it dogs? Is it gardening?
Play with my poodle.
Play with your poodle. You get the idea?
Yes.
All of those things are what needs to be in the very first paragraph of your biography. And then you ease into all of your real estate expertise.
Wow.
Because that way
Makes sense.
people make a connection. right? People make a connection. We talked about, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanna make sure, so you guys did the research behind this and that's what it shows?
Yes,
Oh my God, that's
absolutely,
so cool.
absolutely. And it's not just us, right? Look at sales techniques in any industry, and you'll see something similar to what I just said, right? It's because it's making whether you're selling computers, you're selling, well, you're not really selling real estate. What are you selling?
Selling yourself.
You're selling yourself,
Representation.
right? When you sell property, that translates then into hopefully more transactions,
Yes.
right? But whatever it is you're selling, people still need to like you. They gotta trust you a little bit, right? You don't have to be lifelong friends, but they gotta trust you. Get the idea there? Okay? So when you write your biography, make sure you think about things like this. And then in conjunction, because I think you said it, right, it was somebody back there that said, the question the client is always asking, not what they're looking for, but the question the client is asking is what is in it for me? Or to rephrase the question, right, what can you do for me? So all of this then boils down to that, right? If you do this properly and answer that question in as many ways as possible, you've got a better chance. Now, even when you've got a client that you've already spoken to and you've already begun a relationship with, but let's say you haven't met them in person yet, and you have an appointment coming up in a few days at a coffee shop, or more ideally to look at a property, what do you think they might be doing before they come to meet you?
Google on you.
They're going to Google you. They're going to stalk you a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Make sure you're not a serial killer, all that good stuff, right? So that's why even when a relationship has already begun, you still want to make sure that all of your information is out there, because they're probably going to do some research on you. Okay? Here's a little SEO tip. Y'all know what SEO means, right? Search engine optimization. They don't like exact data duplication from one version of your biography to the other. So this is another tiny little bit more work to do. But let's say you are on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, used to be Twitter, Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com. Let's say there's 6 or 7 or 8 maybe places where you exist. Do something, even if it's just changing the wording of a sentence or two.
I got a golden nugget for that.
Golden nugget coming, yes.
Use ChatGPT and ask them to create different personas of your.
I got 2 hours I can talk about AI. But yes, that's a wonderful idea, wonderful idea. Just use ChatGPT to create your different versions, right? And there was a question back there?
You're saying to on the Instagram to just add what you like to do, like in horse riding or things like that?
Yeah, I'm talking about wherever you put a biography,
Yeah.
right? It's just to lead with who you are as a person.
Like, I love traveling, so I would put something.
Yes,
into travel
exactly,
into my
exactly.
biography on top, right?
Because I love to travel too, and if I'm looking at an agent and I happen to find you, I'm gonna think, oh,
I love cruises.
I might just want to talk to you. I love cruises, that's even being more
I love
specific,
cruises.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get the idea there? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I usually talk about 2 hours on this subject, but I gotta wrap it up here in just a minute. What else have we got here? Using, of course, I already talked about that, every platform available. How many of you have Googled yourself recently to find out what's out there about you? Good, okay. You should continue to do that periodically, right? Once in a while, well, first of all, how many people have come into real estate from a past industry, a previous work experience? You just want to make sure there isn't anything out there about what you used to do. Okay, so let's say you worked for, I'm just pulling something out of my hat, right? You used to work for IBM, okay? And so there might be a profile of you as a whatever you work for IBM. You want to do what you can to get rid of those, because they will confuse people, okay? Now, with regard to what you used to do, the fact that you used to work for IBM, and maybe I'm just gonna make it up myself. You used to be in human relations, HR with IBM, right? You don't want that profile to exist out there, but as part of your biography, just think for a moment as you're creating it. What did I learn from my past work experience that I can bring to my real estate practice today?
How to interview with a job.
And there's a million
How to
different-
interview for
million different things.
physicians
I've had
selling
agents that have
houses.
been teachers before that have come from the sales. That's perfect comparison, right? You get the idea? So all of these things need to be worked into the first paragraph or two of your biography. And then basically only 2 or 3 maximum additional paragraphs, right? You got to keep it short. It's got to be about 1 page. Why? Because people are fickle, people are stupid. People will not, people don't read past that because they can't absorb it, right? Now, and then
Attention span.
your biography. We talked about video a few minutes ago, right? Your biography, your introductory video should be a 60-second, maybe 90 seconds at the most. Same idea. People can't watch anything more than 1.5 minutes, right? They just lose attention. That video should just be the video version of your biography. Okay? So, stand out like the example we showed you before. Am I out of time, Arnie?
You got 5 minutes.
Oh, good. All right. So you get the idea, right? It should be simply a video version of your biography. Go out. If you're a golf course specialist, go out. Be swinging a golf club, right? That's your background picture, right? And that's where you then film your introductory video. Okay? Anybody have any questions on that now? You get the idea? Are you just walking out with a general idea of how you can really boost your personal marketing, right?
Yes.
I was a broker for 20 years. Training agents was my favorite thing to do because these are the tips and tricks you can use, right, to get more business. Isn't that the idea?
Yes.
You got 3 or 4 clients you're working with now. The mistake that so many agents make is they don't take that little bit of time every day or every week to think down the road, right? All of these little tips and tricks, and I'll remind you again, so many other real estate portals have similar things to what I just talked about on your Realtor.com profile. So please use these techniques everywhere. This is all an investment in your future. What else do we have? Standardizing all of your social media platforms. That is really very important, right? So just make sure that the same information appears everywhere. I kind of alluded to that just a moment ago, right? Make sure that all of your information, make sure your contact information is the same. You got to go back and review because you might have changed your phone number in the last couple of years and forgot to update it on Instagram or somewhere, right? Or LinkedIn. How many people have a LinkedIn profile? Good, a good half of you, right? They're free. It's a wonderful business-to-business networking tool. You should always have a LinkedIn profile.
And if you're a veteran, you get it for free for a year.
Oh, that's cool.
Did you hear that? If you're a veteran, you get a LinkedIn profile for free. Well, there's always a free version
For a year.
right?
No,
but
pro.
you get the
Pro
but you
version.
get the pro version free for a year as a
Yes.
veteran. That's excellent. That's
it is.
wonderful. Yeah,
Not from the
that's
veterans.
wonderful. I already said that. Delete any profiles you don't use anymore. Use the same headshot across all of your accounts, right? Why is that important? What's your name, sir? Forget it. Mark. So let's say Mark has a picture of the red shirt on Facebook and with his blue shirt on X, on Twitter, right? Why is it so important? Why is that maybe just a tiny little bit of a deterrent?
It's different.
It's just because it's different.
Same person.
And people, and you know this from your own search practices, right? If you're doing research or you're looking up anything, right? You're gonna bounce around to 7 or 8 different websites looking for whatever it is you're looking for, right? And so what you want is to see the identical same thing. So if I search for Mark and his last name, realtor, What city do you work in primarily?
Santa Rita.
Santa Clarita, okay, Santa Clarita. Then he's gonna come up and we wanna see 7 or 8 or 9 entries for him, right? And I'm gonna go to all of those and see if the same thing is there, right? And so I want to make sure that everything I find out about Mark is consistent, right? And then, of course, you add your preferred contact information and updated bio, and I just said that, right? Consumers bounce around from one website to the other. Whoops, I went too far. So, I think I got it all in half an hour, right?
Thank you, Mike.
You're so welcome. And look, if you ever have any questions with regard to anything to do with Realtor.com or pretty much anything to do with real estate, you can call our customer care team at the 800 number there, and I'll leave that up if you want to take a picture of that screen. They're available Monday through Friday, 6 in the morning until 5 p.m. Pacific time. We are in Scottsdale, but right now we are on the same time as you. And on Saturdays from 7 to 3 p.m. You can email us at any time at customer care. And we offer a whole slew of training that is free to every single agent, right? And that is, go to realtor.com/training, and you will find this whole long list of webinars that are usually offered at least once a week on all of our free products, all of our paid products, and a lot of sales skills. I do one every week on artificial intelligence. I do another one called the Agent Profile Basics, where I go through some of what I did today, but really just piece by piece and how important each one is, okay? And then there's a whole slew of other trainers that do similar things. So thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope you beneficial to you. And I wish you a great rest of your day here at this